Hello, everybody, and welcome to the super special obligatory post-inauguration meltdown stream. Because fuck it, everyone else is doing it. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I am joined by Allison, Hannah, and our special guest, the Sandre guy.
Hello.
Hello. So...
Peer pressure.
Oh. Oh.
Did I just like totally undermine you? Maybe?
No.
Okay.
No, we're good.
We're good. All right.
So I guess what we're going to do today is we're going to put on our pussy hats and we will consider thinking caps. And we will look at all of the nuttiness that has happened since Donald Trump's inauguration on, was it Friday? I don't even remember. It's been, the weekend blurs together with all the protesting and shit. It makes it feel like
it was
it's
boring.
Just one thing.
It was the inauguration itself was tremendously boring.
Yeah, the inauguration itself was exactly as dull as any other inauguration would be. It's just,
although you do have to agree that Ivanka looked fucking hot.
well, she usually does.
I was to say, when does she ever not?
True enough.
Yeah.
I liked her bitch walk.
Ivanka was wearing the blue, right? She looked like...
No. That's Melania.
Oh, okay. Melania's the wife. Ivanka's the daughter. All right. I didn't see it then. I didn't see the daughter. So, I guess...
Ivanka is the blonde one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
And she's got the nice tatas.
You mean like she has like a favored Mexican hors d'oeuvre? Is that what the tatas means? Like a delicious...
If that's code for boobs, then yeah, sure.
All right. Well, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. The inauguration itself was just, it was like any other. I think more people were tuning in to watch because they were expecting some craziness to happen, and I think a lot of that has to
CNN to stage their coup.
Well, they were making like this. They were making this big, like, you know, is he going to be assassinated or isn't he? And then they talked a little bit about, you know, with this clickbaity fucking piece about how what would happen if he was, and then what would happen next, and how the whole, you know, the power structure would come down. Like, hey, well, what if he killed every Republican until, like, how many Republicans would have to die before it became a Democratic House again? And it's like, oh, okay, that's an interesting article.
That whole, was it CNN or MSNBC?
I think it was CNN.
CNN.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Clinton News Network. Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, but I mean that was just fucking creepy. I mean that's. I mean I saw the whole analysis by Sargon, and I mean, like, I understood the guy when he said that it was hard for him to just make jokes about it because it was so fucking weird. Just how they put it all together, you know. I mean, the narrator's tone of voice too. It was like, hey guys, you know, we're not saying that you should, but this is how you could get a Democratic, you know, majority.
Yeah.
How you could get a Democratic president.
To be fair, there's two ways you can take that, because the convoluted nature of what it would have taken to get there could have been, hey guys, I know we all are upset about this, but look at what you'd have to do in order to, you're not going to change anything, don't even try. You know, it could have been that. It could have been malicious. It could have been, we just want your views. It could have been, you know, it did sound very creepy. Or it could have simply been, it's hopeless, guys. You'd have to go so far to make this happen that it's not possible.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with what you're saying right now is that you're assuming that the people at the CNN that they actually live in reality, and they don't.
Well, what I'm doing is not assuming that they were malicious in this. You know, not assuming that they're so outside of reality that they believe this could actually happen. Because you got to know. You look at Secret Service, you look at the history of Secret Service, and you look at the history of essentially protecting our government the actual government officials and so on, you have to know that it would take an astounding disconnect from reality. Not just the disconnect that we see every day, but an astounding disconnect from reality for them to believe someone could actually succeed at this. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't malicious either. So I'm not saying that they might not have been trying to manipulate somebody into creating a spectacle, because a spectacle is as far as anybody would have gotten. They never would have achieved what these guys laid out. But they could have created a massive distraction and given the media quite a bit to talk about and report on and create more clickbait over.
Well,
and it could have simply been very mercenary.
I just have a very philosophical question about this, because if they had caused a spectacle, and considering that we have a spectacle as a president now, would that be a spectacleception?
Yes. Yes, it would. But, you know, I think we've had a spectacle for a president all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm trying to find the pun. Shit. I feel
Alright.
stupid now.
I just
Did
love.
you mean to say testicle?
Oh.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
I invited Mike on.
Mm-hmm.
We're crashing your stream.
I'm not adding a character, so
We're
his voice is
we're
just gonna
performing
be
a
off
stream
to the
coup.
side.
I'm
I
in your
see that.
ceiling. I'm ceiling panda.
You're stealing Panda, yes. But are you also long?
I'm over 9,000.
That's a lot of long. All right.
Okay, so
Sorry, Brian.
no, it's okay. So I guess there were protests, and at the inauguration itself, nothing happened. But in D.C., things were pretty interesting. There were people trashing businesses, and I mean, there was probably a lot of peaceful stuff too, probably marching and whatnot. But of course, if you create chaos and you use violence and stuff, that's going to stand out. So you can find video of people smashing windows at Starbucks, and I believe it's Bank of America, which is ironic because both of those companies donated a lot of money to the Clintons for the campaign trail. But hey, what do they know? And yes.
Dude, do you want to get shot?
I'd like to see them try. Come down to
You have to
Chicago.
finish that up with, because that's how you get shot.
Yes. And then there was the
Yes,
guy.
well,
Oh, go ahead, Allison.
I was just gonna say that Brian is from Chicago, so he's already been, he was shot before he was born, right?
That's right. Actually, I think
Yeah,
it was
that's
a
the other-
gunshot that caused me to be sort of prematurely delivered. So yeah, I'm here early because of that.
How long was labor? Maybe it was a gunshot.
I was the bullet. But yeah, so there was also the guy. There's this great video. I think they call him Cry Duck, and I can't show the video because I'm having some issues with OBS. I'm using on a new computer with Windows 10, and Windows 10. Fuck that fucking operating system. But it's the only one I had, and they don't sell 7 anymore. So
That was a guy?
there was a guy. Yeah, I think that was a guy.
That,
Cry Duck, who was basically like
Yeah.
when they said, when the moment happened that they were like, Donald Trump is now officially the 45th president of the United States, whatever. And he goes,
Yeah, I did not realize that was a guy. I will admit that.
it was like the Frodo
I've been
no.
misgendering him
Yeah.
the whole time.
Well,
Kind of reminiscent of the
My
chick.
apologies to
The
Cry
chick at
Duck.
the Hillary wherever it was on election night, the chick with the Uncle Sam top hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly the same expression from the same angle, as I recall. They might be related. They look quite local.
yes.
Kind of scary.
More memes have been made. I think that after a while, a couple more years of this, we'll have the full set of Pokemon.
It's secret, Brian. Secret. Secret project.
I love it though, Cry Duck. Or maybe Cry Dyke? It could be a woman. Oh man, that's terrible. I'm gonna move on now.
That's an even
Hey,
better.
dude. You can't assume these things, okay? Learn from Lauren Sovereign.
That is a man.
Yes,
She is a man.
it's entirely possible that Kryduck is an attack helicopter, and we just don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. I'd hate to
I
be
mean,
the one.
look at me. Look at me. I'm a firekin, and nobody can tell me otherwise.
There you go.
That's right.
You know, the best part of that tantrum though was when Kryduck took a break just to look and see if the camera was still trained on him. I mean, are you watching this? Ah! I mean, I used to babysit a 2-year-old that did that. Like, she would throw tantrums, and it would be this incredible kicking, screaming. Like, this child had lungs the size of, I don't know, beer tanks, beer brewery tanks, and would scream loud enough you could hear her down the street. And like right in the middle of it, she would stop and look around, and if anybody was watching her, then she would start it back up again. And like she did that to her parents all the time. She didn't really do that much to me because I just got down on the floor and did it too. And then she would get all wide-eyed and stop and look at me. But it was the same thing. This like toddler doing this was funny, but seeing it from an adult is just, it's a real what the fuck moment.
I have to wonder if whoever took the shot, like with the camera, was in on it as well. Like they both went out to go, here's what we're going to do. You stand here and cry when they announce that, and I'll stand up here and film you. We're going to get one of the greatest, like one of the most heart-wrenching shots ever taken. This is going to line up with those crying kids in Vietnam, and that shot that Kevin Carter took of the dying black kid.
And that little dead boy, the dead boy in Aleppo or whatever on the beach. Yes, this will be just like that.
Oh yeah. The tantrum heard round the world.
Okay,
honestly, when it came to that, dead kid on the shore, I mean, don't they have people, to take out the trash from beaches and stuff? I mean, why was the body still there? I mean, come on now.
They may lack infrastructure there, I guess. I don't know. That was Aleppo, right? I don't know what Aleppo is, so never mind. Allison, were you going to say something?
Okay. These protests aren't actually going to stop Trump from being president, are they?
No. I checked this morning to see if there were any changes since the protests happened, and no, he's still president. It's crazy.
Okay, well, I'm just curious what the point was to create such immense environmental devastation.
Attention.
Yeah,
I mean, because you look at the remains of the women, the 1 million. We have so much free time and money to do this because we're so oppressed. March, and it's like it's these cardboard signs littering the side of the road, like 4 inches thick. And you look at that, it's like, what did this achieve? I mean, congratulations, you killed an entire forest.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a lot of attention.
They wanted attention.
They wanted attention. That's it.
If I could be serious for a moment, there was a large women's protest here in Chicago. In lots of parts of the world, all the big cities, basically, right?
Now, was that a large protest, or were they large women?
Yes. It was a protest of mostly large women.
Because I saw somebody on Twitter saying that Trump got more fat women off the couch in one day than Obama's wife did for their entire term.
For both terms. No, but there
Sorry,
was this.
I'll stop deflecting or derailing.
No, it's cool. So there was this large protest, like I don't know, over 100,000 people, I think, were downtown. A lot of women there. I didn't go. I stayed away from that place like the plague. It was affecting traffic everywhere, and they were all down there with pussy hats. And I was visiting some friends at the time. It was on Saturday, and my friends that I was seeing, they were all married guys. Or they had girlfriends. And all of their wives and girlfriends and daughters, if they had them, were at this thing. They were all downtown. Because they're all, I hate to say it, but these are my friends, but they're all like these kind of, they're like social justice warriors in the sort of casual sense, like, oh, I believe in that. I saw that on CNN. I trust them. so I'm just gonna go. You know, they're sheeple in a lot of ways, and I know it sounds mean, but it's true because they haven't questioned anything. Anyway, they're all down there, and these guys are basically saying, "Oh, it's so great! I'm so proud of my wife and my daughter and so on. I'm so proud of ladies in my life for doing this thing." And I'm trying to figure out what it is they actually did. Not only, which is what Allison was saying, was, you know, what did they actually accomplish? Which is nothing. It's almost never anything. But that doesn't necessarily mean that protest should not be allowed, right? I mean, I'm all for that as long as it's peaceful. Say what you want. That's why, you know, this is a free country and so on. And there are people in the chat right now trying to speculate on what the march was about. The pussy hat thing. It was not about anything in particular. It was about women. It was about feminism in general. It was an anti-Trump, feminist, women's, my body, my choice, rape culture, wage gap thing. It didn't actually have any purpose, and it didn't accomplish anything. But what it did do was it made everybody who participated by putting on a hat and going downtown, which is all they did, it made them feel better about themselves and get a sense of solidarity with the other people that did the same thing that they did. And that's it. All they got is they got to say, I was here, I did this. And if it feels like you've made history, it's even more important. And this I think they call it the Million Woman March, or some people have called it that. This is the thing I find interesting. Years and years ago, there was something called the Million Man March. Do you remember the Million Man March? Anybody remember that? Do you remember what the purpose of the Million Man March was?
Well, that was a civil rights initiative.
It was partly that. It was partly that. But a lot of it also had to do with men sort of like, recognizing essentially taking responsibility to try to be better fathers to their children, to try to be more supportive of other men, to try to make the world a better place. It was a bit of that mythopoetic stuff, a bit of the personal responsibility stuff. But it wasn't about them complaining to the government. It was about them coming together to solve a problem, which was, I think at the time, it had a big focus on fatherless homes. I mean, it didn't do much. As you can see, we're in worse shape. But the point is that those men were doing that, and that was the purpose. They were asking something of themselves. But with this, they're not asking anything of themselves. They're asking something of the state. And they're asking other people to pay attention to them. And they're asking other people, namely, other citizens, society in general, and the government to do stuff for them. I could show you some of the photos in a little bit here to show you what they were talking about, so you can see just how disjointed and nonsensical the Million Woman March was. It made no sense. I mean, I could not grasp what the point was, except to pat yourself on the back and say, put yourself on the cross and say, oh, it's so hard to be a woman, especially now that the living embodiment of the patriarchy has been given the highest office in the land. But on top of that, I'm going to also talk about how great it is that I'm here with my sisters, but we'll get into that. So, did somebody else, I think Allison was going to talk, or Hannah or something.
Yeah, I was going to talk.
Okay.
The point I wanted to make, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
The point I wanted to make was when the freedom fighters in the 60s were marching, they only ever were able to march 6 and maybe 12 people. That was it. That was what a real civil rights movement had to deal with. When you're able to mobilize millions of people with free time and the money to do it, you're not oppressed. That by definition.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to say, Jax asked me if I'm sure about. I think she's relating to the Million Man March. I think that's a big part of it. I don't think that's the whole thing. I think there was a civil rights part of it too, but I think that there was also a like a looking inward for solutions, because there were priests there and ministers, and they were talking about how to make progress and stuff like that. So, anyway.
No name required wants to know the difference between me and Allison. The biggest difference is Allison is in charge, and I don't want to be in charge because I'm lazy. So that's probably the biggest difference between us. I want to point out.
Wait. You're a woman, and you're telling me you're lazy.
I am
God, I
a
have no
lazy
clue.
fuck.
I have no clue.
I am lazy as shit. I will do things to avoid having to do the same chore twice. I will be obsessively meticulous to perfect it if I think that if I screw up, I'm going to have to do it over again. But if it's something that you can do, just an ordinary thing like loading the dishwasher, and you can do it half-assed and maybe only have to put 1 or 2 dishes back through again, I'm not careful, that's me. And if I got something to say, I'll say it. And if there's something that needs done, I'll do it because it needs done. But yeah, I'm lazy, and I will fully admit that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go to a walk like this even if I was spoiled enough to feel this as entitled as these women do, because if that was the only motivation I had for it, it would just be too much effort.
Or you could just whack someone in the head and steal their permobile.
There you go. But honestly, yeah, no, I'm lazy. I'm lazy as shit. But what I wanted to point out about this walk, the women's walk, is where Brian was talking about the men's walk was about walking for responsibility in a lot of ways, and that does compute as far as my memory reading about it and everything. It's been a while since it's been in my sphere of awareness, because it's not something like they didn't decide they had to crow about this all the time the way women have to crow about the women's walk. But it was an opposite thing for women. The women's walk, they're walking against responsibility for women. They're walking against women having any accountability, against women even having to put out the effort to buy their own shit. Mm-hmm. And they're actually, in a way, walking against civil rights, where civil rights come into conflict with women's laziness and women's self-absorption. And a big part of that is the demand that Uncle Sam, their favorite sugar daddy, steal money from all of the men in the nation to pay for their elective drugs. And when you're using birth control for birth control, that is elective. It's a smart elective to take, but it's one you should support yourself. Because it is elective. You can live without it. You're doing it so that you can have fun without facing a particular consequence. Mm-hmm. But in any case, the other aspect of it was entitlement. And it's a particular type of entitlement that is unique to women, specifically because of the female privilege of having one's sensibilities regarding one's sexuality coddled. This is not something that ever extends to men. In fact, if men ask for it, they get called creeps. They're objecting to a statement that Donald Trump made that exposes the fact that many, many women are gold diggers by nature. And that's not a condemnation, unless, you're ashamed of being a gold digger. It's not a condemnation out of hand. It's simply a statement of fact. By nature, many, many women would rather rely on a man for resources than go out and get them themselves. As lazy as I am, I'm not quite that lazy. It actually kind of feels wrong to rely on somebody else like that when I can do it myself. It feels like I'm taking what's not mine, and it's not that every woman or every man who is in a one-income family and is the stay-at-home parent should feel that way. That's a personal thing for me. But this idea that women will accept behavior from a guy if he's rich, that they would get outraged about if he wasn't rich, was what Trump was saying when he said, grab him by the pussy. You can grab him by the pussy. They'll let you do it. they'll let you do it was a statement that because you're rich, they'll let you do something that they would smack you for if you were poor. That's what they're outraged about. That's what they're calling rape culture. They're calling acknowledging that women are, at large, not every woman, but at large, women are, by nature, gold diggers. And I'm sorry, but, if you don't like that image, don't look in that mirror. Or simply don't be that way.
If you don't like the image, don't march on Washington expecting everyone else to take financial responsibility for your choices. Because that basically was a 1 million gold digger march.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, well, so 700 some thousand, I think, is what the count was. So it was pretty close. It's embarrassing to a degree. It's very embarrassing that many women came out and flew from all over the United States. Those poor financially oppressed women that had the money for airplane tickets and time off from work if they had jobs, could fly out to Washington to march on Washington, demanding that Uncle Sam be their sugar daddy.
Do you know one of the reasons why the freedom fighters could only march 6 people, at most 12? Because black people in the South faced losing their jobs if they talked about civil rights. If they marched in any kind of seditious activity. So
kind of like MRAs now?
Yeah, kind of like MRAs now. Mm-hmm. So when you're in a situation where there's almost 1 million of you, or there's 750,000 of you capable, and you don't risk your job. In fact, these women risked nothing in doing this. Nothing.
I got something really funny for that later on.
Like, you went and you marched. You risked nothing. You didn't risk your job. You didn't risk your life. You didn't risk any kind of violence. You risked nothing. Because this wasn't a protest march. It wasn't a symbol of defiance. It was just a celebration of entitlement. And it's been this way throughout the entire feminist movement. The fact that feminists can march this many women proves the exact opposite of their own claims. Because if women really were oppressed, they wouldn't be able to march. They wouldn't be able to agitate for their civil rights, because doing so would mean they would lose their fucking job or their relationship. They would lose their source of support. That's the real crux of it. You're not oppressed if agitating for your civil rights doesn't mean you're going to lose your job. You're not oppressed if agitating for your civil rights doesn't mean you're going to lose your friendships. Unless you're like so strident about it that everybody doesn't want to be around you. Yep. And still, you won't lose their friendship. You'll just be like, I'm just busy that day.
Yeah, but Allison, I'm sad to say that you're clearly wrong here. You're being very, very sexist and ignorant here, because we do know that oppression against women do exist. I mean, just take a look at Twitter. Look at all the hate they get. Oh, wait, no, it's actually more men who get those kinds of messages and comments, isn't it? Anyway, no. We live in a patriarchy because they say so.
We can't possibly live in a patriarchy. If we lived in a patriarchy, only 6 women would be able to march. And they would have fire hoses turned on them. And they would lose their jobs.
But that's that's logic, and it's masculine and therefore oppressive. So don't do it.
We need our weaves. We need. I don't wear them. But...
We need our weaves.
But we need it. Okay.
Take that shit to the suburbs.
Do you want to go to the pictures?
Oh yeah, please.
Okay. So these are pictures from various marches over the weekend. All right. So here first we have this lovely creature, who didn't even bother to put on a pussy hat. It's probably her worst crime. She just tried to get away with a regular hat. By the way, when one of the wives returned from her outing that I was talking about with my friends and stuff, she had a pussy hat on her, and I asked her if I could grab that, and she let me. And I'm not making a joke. She did. So it's true. They let you.
Did she
Apparently they do let you do it.
did she realize what you were doing?
No, she did not realize. I was like, "Can I grab that?" And she gave it to me, and I said thanks, and I looked at it, and I gave it back. I did give it back though, but she let me.
You realize
And
you
her
would have
husband
never
was
gotten away with
her
that.
husband was right there, and he didn't say anything. So
clearly, society is in moral decay.
Oh god.
all right.
Just grabbing pussies like that. Come on.
Yep. Well, you shouldn't wear them on your head. Okay. Anyway, so she has a sign that just says "Eradicate men." I ask you, what does that have to do with anything? Seriously, what does that have to do with anything dealing with the march? I don't know. I don't know. So that's one for the ages. Here is something kind of cool. After the march was over, apparently they left all of their signs all over the place. So this is a photo of the littering that happened. These are all the signs that were used. It's "I'm with her," "Unity," "Feminism is the radical notion that," and it says something I can't read, "Not your bitch," etc., and so on. And then somebody added a cool little caption at the bottom that says, "Some man will clean that up." So, and that's true, right? I mean, they just left they just left all their shit and just left. This was probably after that last protester. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's some kind of a person dressed up in tights with a mask and blowing a whistle, and that's something. That's like the Valkyrie of feminism. Come to escort everyone to Valhalla.
Yeah, but I think that's just a lesbian who has been licking too many yeast-infected vaginas and is hallucinating.
Yeah, this is what you actually call a failing pile of garbage. By the way, moving on.
I mean, it's always shaky ground to compare anyone to cockroaches or other such vermin. But different crowds have different characters. I mean, people could fucking spend 3 days in Woodstock and not leave as much crap behind as that. Mm-hmm. They're a bad kind of cockroach. All human beings are cockroaches, but some shit more than others.
Okay. That the entitlement on display. It reminded me when you put that up. It reminded me of being in student government and listening to students complain about fees, and in student government you did stuff after hours, and you would go through you go into like a lecture hall. And there would be so much shit on the floors that these students expected the janitorial staff to pick up. And then they would complain about their student fees. Well, you could start by cleaning up after yourself. Taking some responsibility for that. In fact, I remember going to one of the meetings of the Canadian Students' Union for all of Canada. And the students were so disrespectful. They absolutely trashed the hotel that they stayed at, to the point where the hotel people asked them never to come back. And these are the people who are supposed to be representing students. It was just an unbelievable level of entitlement to other people's time and labor, and no consciousness that if you want to ask for your student fees to be reduced, maybe you should pick up your own trash. Maybe you should wipe your own ass.
Yeah, but no. Listen, Allison, if the students want to, pick up their own feces and, use them as crayon on the fucking floor and the walls and stuff, that's just them expressing themselves, You gotta let them, Maybe they just didn't leave the anal phase. Who knows?
Oh, God. I just... This has really disheartened me, even more than the march itself. The fact that they have just this incredible level. Oh, I'll just throw this out. Somebody else will take care of it. Mm-hmm. Somebody, my oppressor will take care of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually been characteristic of social justice-y, progressive type protests, at least in the United States. That's been characteristic for more than 20 years. That's every time these guys have one of their screaming fits, they leave behind a horrendous mess. There's been some where they've left behind jars of urine and feces because they camped out in various places to protest against, essentially against the government not redistributing wealth from people who earn it or produce it to people who don't. And it's just, there's been numerous things like that happen. And it's been that way. Actually, it's been more than 20 years, because it was that way when I was in college. And that's been more than 20 years. So, sad thing is, it's very common. The more entitled the protesters are, the more they lack awareness of their impact on the area that they protest in.
Take Occupy Wall Street. I mean, look, here's the thing. Economically speaking, I'm very much left wing, but I do have to say this though. You have people who protest, who are genuine protesters, and sure, some of them are just sheeple, and some of them are just misinformed, and others are genuinely people who just want to do good. But most of them are actually decent people. And then you have the professional, activists, and those are the people. And also the SJWs. You see, Occupy Wall Street started out as a genuine grassroots movement. And then you had these people, both the fucking professional activists who just wanted to get, arrested by the cops to have, something to brag about. And then you had the fucking SJWs who, I think it was Stephen Colbert who did an interview with them, and they were, they talked about, identities and stuff, I think. I mean, there we have some actual genuine entitlement, and I think that's really one of the first views into the modern state of activism. I think that was really a vision of what's to come, and here we are now. I would say most demonstrations actually are uncalled for. Essentially, they have no meaning. They have no subtext. There's no grassroots in it anymore. It's essentially from top to bottom, not the other way around. It's the same thing with all the fucking so-called protests with Black Lives Matter, for instance. What the fuck do? Well, they block the fucking highway. And God forbid if you actually obey the law of conservation of energy and stuff, and you can't quite brake in time to avoid hitting one of these jackasses, well, and you send them flying, God forbid, because then you're a racist. It's not like you just have to obey the laws of physics. But yeah, no, I would say that most forms of activism today is actually uncalled for. It's I mean, there are things you could actually bring up. I mean, there is genuine income inequality, and then you also have a lot of genuine issues regarding men, of course. But no, that's not really what people are demonstrating about. No, that's just not interesting. No, instead, let's demonstrate this man from taking office who really can't do what they fear he will do because of something called the Constitution. So yeah.
Well, and also let's demonstrate to get more into, like every other oppressed group in history, the government takes more from takes the money from our oppressors and gives us to us oppressed women, and we want more of that. Because like every other oppressed group in history, this has been so. The government has taken resources from the oppressors to give it to the oppressed. And we want more of that because it's just not enough.
This is really the march has said some pretty terrible things about women. Really, when you cut through the bullshit, when you break the rose-colored glasses with which everybody looks at women, and actually look at the bottom line of what they're saying when they demand that men be taxed, that people who produce wealth be taxed to pay for their birth control, and that their employers be forced, regardless of their employers' beliefs and regardless of budgetary concerns, to pay for insurance companies, to pay for their birth control. What they're basically saying there is that women cannot be responsible for themselves, that they just don't have the self-control to not consent to sex without a condom, which honestly, if you're not in a monogamous relationship, you should never have sex without a condom. If you are in a monogamous relationship, a condom is a better guarantee than anything else you can do. Everything else that prevents pregnancy does not prevent the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. And yet all of those things are being pushed to the forefront, and the most reliable item is being ignored, because those things are for women, and women want them bought for them because they just can't deal with the responsibility of making the smartest choice when they decide that they want to do the horizontal bop with somebody, and that's, once again, that's embarrassing to have somebody say that about my sex, that we're so stupid that we can't make good choices and we have to have the government pay to mitigate that handicap. That's sad. And I don't think most of the women involved realize what they're telling people about themselves. Every single sign that was held up by women at that march, regardless of what the words on it were, said, "I'm lazy and stupid, and I expect other people to take responsibility for me and pay for it."
I just find it astounding that there's never any talk of what responsibilities women have to society, ever. It's like it's a foreign notion, and yet the consequences to our actions and the responsibilities that we assume are core parts of our identities as individuals. So they're just this sort of squishy mass of weakness and vulnerability, demanding that it be served. Because and they refuse this idea that they're the weaker sex, and yet they do nothing but prove that they are.
Well, I would say that it's not really about women being the weaker sex. It's more about, feminists just being weaker people. I mean, honestly, it's only because of men's compassion that these people haven't been left to their fate, considering, natural selection. No, but yeah, these people, they are incredibly weak-minded, and I would argue that they are genuine misogynists, because it's like Hannah said before, they actually hold some very condescending views on women. Now I know a lot of women in my life who are great people, but that's because they're actually women. They're not feminists. If you're a feminist, you have to be a victim. And if you're a victim, well, and I mean, if you believe you're a victim and you're not actually a victim, well, then you're just a cunt, essentially. That's what you are. But yeah, no, let's continue with the images.
Okay, I got more pictures.
Is it necessary? I just want to say, is it necessarily a sign of a weak mind to be able to see yourself as a victim? I mean, it's often the way that classic sort of psychopaths go. Just make yourself come across as the victim in every possible scenario, so that you can in fact be the perpetrator in every scenario. I mean, there's a difference between weak and weak-minded, I suppose, but I wonder if either of these necessarily describe the average feminist. Their strength is their ability to inflate their sense of weakness. But
well,
that's
I mean,
surely, that's surely a property of a strong person. Weak people tend to overemphasize their strength.
I wouldn't call them weak-minded. I would call them dishonest. Although to a degree, there's a disconnect with them in that they honestly don't understand. You can see it when you talk to them. They honestly don't understand why women like us don't want them to speak for us. But as far as being able to sell snake oil, being able to perpetrate one of the biggest cons of all time in the entire world. No, that's not weak-minded. It's dastardly. It's malicious and malevolent, and and very abusive, but it's not weak-minded. It's
What?
it's evil.
Why do they always have these shit-eating grins as they tell us how terrified they are?
That's that liberal elitism, that smugness. That's like, I don't know if that's
You're not
DNA or
fucking
what.
terrified.
No,
You're not fucking terrified. You're using your fear as an exploitative tactic, or your alleged fear as an way of exploiting people. And then you've got the duping delight. You've got like this sociopathic "I've got one over on you" smile.
Yeah, but I think that's simply them having this delusional sense of, you know, unearned moral authority. Because I mean, you have to remember, these people, they probably go to university to read whatever the fuck kind of, you know, useless program they study, and they are essentially told that, oh well, if you hold these views, then you are so much better than everybody else, because your views and, you know, and people who think like you, that's the accurate way of being, that's the accurate opinion is to have. You're on the right side of history. How often don't you hear that fucking phrase over and over again from these people? We're on the right side of history. Well, if you have that mindset regarding your position, regardless, you can justify the most asinine things imaginable. Because guess what? The Nazis, they thought they were on the right side of history, and well, look at them. The Red Army essentially proved them wrong there, didn't they? And again, if you go to the Soviets, they also thought they were on the right side of history. Well, no, they weren't. Definitely not. But that's the thing, though. I think the reason they have these shit-eating grins and can actually, you know, be so smug while they claim that others are, you know, keeping them down, it's because they believe that they have the moral authority. And I would say that this is probably actually very evident, although in a different way, with Antifa, because you have these. It's quite amazing, really. You have these videos of Antifa members antagonizing the fucking police, and you know, essentially trying to steal their fucking guns and shit, and just you know, throwing fucking cobblestones at the cops, and, you know, essentially trying to maim them even, or even kill them. And then when the cops, you know, wrestle them down, and, you know, it's essentially extremely fucking rough because, well, they've been going at these fucking Antifa members for fucking hours, and they're only human, you know, they get pissed off. So if they can get away with it, yeah, they're probably gonna kick these people in the shins and stuff. You know, I'm not surprised. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but, you know, what the fuck do you expect? And then these people will wail and moan in their fucking cells and argue to their lawyers, because we know that they have ones. They probably have lawyers. These people are usually from at least the middle class, usually from the upper class. Fucking twats. And then they will wail and moan and, oh, it's so sad about me. I'm being abused by the system. I just wanted to fight for what's fair. No, it's not fair, miss. I'm being harshly treated. No, you were throwing cobblestones at the cops, you dumb cunt. But that's the thing. They also believe that they're on the right side of history. They believe that they are the anti-fascists. That's the key to it all. I think that's the same thing with the fucking feminists. A lot of them believe that they are genuinely on the right side of history, so to speak.
Okay, I just want to point something out. This protest, it is the one of the main reasons why, and I'm not necessarily pro-Trump. I'm more of a neutral in all of this. But if you're going to protest, at least make it something meaningful, not her, ugh, woman hater. Like or can we, or agitating for rights that you already have and are not in any kind of possible danger. I mean, sure, he might be reducing violence against women, funding to that, but it's not like he's not also reducing funding to violence against men. And there you go. That's equal. That is equal across the board.
You really can't reduce something that's already at zero unless they start charging men money for reporting violence. There's
Exactly. You can't be losing rights as human rights as women that men don't have at all either. Like you can't be that can't be a loss of equality. But this is the point. All of these signs, all of this. Why can't you have a protest of Trump that actually points out things that might be shady or might be problematic, ethically or legally, or maybe conflicts of interest? Why can't you protest actual things that he has done? Or even, here's a thought, wait for him to actually do something.
Well,
and then protest that.
To do that, you'd have to actually be able to make an argument. And you'd also have to have the patience to wait and see if anything happens. Then you can't act on your gut instinct or what the CNN told you or what the Young Turks told you or MSNBC or all these other fucking places. You have to actually be able to make arguments and make cases and then state them. You'd also have to actually be able to listen to opposing opinions and other people that also have good arguments and figure out where the truth is at or where the facts are.
And also, I mean, actually, I want to say two things. First of all, what I'm afraid of with these people when they do these things, and I mean, it's the same thing with the media too. When they do these things, they essentially make the public immune to future events where, legitimate criticism towards Trump could be laid out. For instance, I mean, eventually it happens to all presidents, even good presidents. Eventually they fuck up because they're only human. So when that happens with Trump, it's important that you have a public who can hold him accountable, at least, socially speaking. But there's a good risk that that's not going to happen now because people have cried wolf so many fucking times now that nobody's going to take it seriously once it actually happens. And also, I just want to talk about this fucking image that's up right now. This fucking guy, I'm terrified and I don't even have a vagina. Well, you see, that's because you don't have a vagina. You are a vagina. So
I was going to say that if you actually look at it, though, it actually sounds pretty sexist to women. Because he's saying women should be scared. I'm choosing to be scared even though I'm not a woman. I'm basically I'm scared and I'm not even as easily frightened as they are. Because I have
everyone should be scared, especially women. He's also written vagina in pink. Well done, you.
Yeah. It's a typical thing for male feminists. This is one of the reasons why I will actively admit the minute a man tells me he's a feminist, a little wall goes up in front of me. I will admit an immediate prejudice because 9 times out of 10, I run into a guy who starts talking about why he's a male feminist. Why as a guy, he's decided that this ideology is his best choice. It sounds like he's singing, hey there, Little Red Riding Hood. It comes right out of that. And it's kind of sickening. It's really actually creepier than they are trying to make other men out to be. Because most of the time they disparage women as weak and stupid, and then they disparage men as brutish and evil and selfish. And when they do it, they try to exclude themselves from that. Well, I'm better than the other men, that's why I'm a feminist. But the reality is, what they're saying is that that's male nature. And usually it's projection.
I just wanted to add to that. Any woman who's reasonably intelligent, or at least not totally brainwashed, should realize, or I think comes to the conclusion, that it's much better to be in the company of men who judge her by standards of accountability based on her actions than in the company of men who judge her based on a standard of purity, which is what feminist men do. They judge women based on a standard of purity, a feminist standard of purity. And you see the men and the violence that men will express towards women who fail their purity standards. Same with feminist men. If you fail to embody the virtues of vulnerability and helplessness as defined by feminism, feminist men consider you fair game.
Yeah, there's a really good example of that was just shared on social media. And in fact, when I saw it on YouTube and clicked like on it, a little bit of conversation happened on Twitter about it, where one of the Rebel Media's female reporters was punched by a guy at one of the women's marches. And it was really interesting to watch because it's kind of a silver lining that nobody involved treated her like a girl. They just treated her as either ally or enemy. But the guy that hit her, you could see he kind of realized, oh my God, I'm a guy and I just hit a woman, and he like fled. But the women around her, not one of them, all of them would have been outraged if it had just been any other guy and any other woman. But because it was a woman, they saw as a political opposite to themselves, a political opponent or a political enemy. They didn't get outraged that a guy hit her. They got outraged that she was upset about it.
Mm-hmm. And
Sheila
you'll
Gunn
see.
Reid.
Go ahead, Mike, because you don't talk as much as me.
We're talking about Sheila Gunn Reid, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about Sheila Gunn Reid.
There's a woman who did most of the talking who was wearing a hat annoyingly similar to mine. And she got it down to, I'm just here to prevent this from escalating any further. Yeah, where were you a minute ago when it was just about to escalate to the thing you're supposed to be here to stop from happening?
Okay, and let me just run through that scenario. When you're dealing with men who judge women by standards of purity, like feminist men, and men who hold women to standards of accountability. In a situation where men hold women to standards of accountability, that would be considered assault. But for all the men in attendance, an assault against a fellow person, which is, of course, regardless of her ethics or regardless of her stated political position, that's a no-go. You don't do that shit. And yet, that man who punched her, all of his supposed deference and desire to avoid violence against women goes right out the window when he's presented with a woman who does not embody his standard of purity. And then anything goes. Anything goes. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, ladies. You want to be around men who demand that you embody standards of purity. When they decide that you no longer embody them, you get to be subject to violence. You get to be subject to murder. You get to be subject to rape. And I can tell you right now, I would much rather be around men's rights activists who hold women to standards of accountability, which they hold other men to, and would, in the situation, if they were in that situation, would say that assault of Sheila, regardless if she's a feminist or not a feminist, is wrong because you don't assault another human being just because they disagree with you politically. I would rather be around men who hold me to standards of accountability than the kind of guys who can completely remove even their sense of, I mean, that guy didn't just remove his sense of oh, I don't want to avoid violence against women. He removed his sense of, I don't want to avoid violence against another fucking human being. And I noticed that he didn't assault her cameraman. He assaulted her because his anger at the thought of a woman violating his standards of purity, that inspired his violence.
But Allison, listen, he's on the right side of history. Duh.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because all those men on the right side of history who have brutally subjugated the women that they regarded as not embodying their sense of purity, they're always eventually hailed as heroes. We don't just wake up at some point and go around and say, what the fuck did we just do? That doesn't happen.
Hashtag no regrets.
Yeah, hashtag no regrets.
All right. Next picture. I dream women will one day have the same rights as guns. I just thought it was stupid, and I thought I would show it. Guns have no rights, but women can get triggered whenever they want.
Well,
I wonder if she realizes how stupid that makes her look.
I don't know. Are we gonna have an amendment
not
that
even-
lets us own women? Because that I'll sign me up for that shit.
well, I'm all for women sharing the pain of shooting blanks.
Oh God.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Well, just watch a feminist get into an argument.
Oh. All right, let me move
Oh,
on to the next
snap.
one. There's not much else to say here. It's just dumb. Oh, I love this one. Let me zoom in a little bit. Here are some white women in pussy hats taking pictures. And there is probably a Black Lives Matter protester or something, but she has a sign that says, "Don't forget, white women voted for Trump." It's just what a perfect moment. Now they're eating each other already in front of what appears to be the Capitol or something.
And
There's a funny thread on Twitter about that too, and somebody just sent it to me a few moments ago, where there's a Rupa is Rad is the name of the twit who posted a picture of herself holding a sign, "Hold white women accountable," and it's like they're ignoring the percentage of other women who are non-white, who also voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And basically ragging on the percentage of white women who voted for Trump. And they're automatically, of course, treating having voted for Trump as the wrong thing to do, the wrong opinion. You don't have the right to your opinion if your opinion does not match theirs. They own women, and therefore they have the right to speak for women and dictate what women will and will not do, because they're feminists. But I find it interesting. Among other things, this woman looks like she could be Anita Sarkeesian's shorter, fatter cousin. But and I'm sure she's probably not. It's just the resemblance is kind of uncanny, especially with the glasses, is uncanny. But she's gone on and said she's gotten dirty looks from white women over her sign because of what it's to hold white women accountable. And she just doesn't understand why these women would be upset. Like, can you imagine the dirty looks you would get from black women?
Mm-hmm.
If you went to a parenting rally or something and said, "Hold black women accountable," and there's the idea that you would smear black women who are good moms because there are black women who are not good moms, would be horribly offensive and racist. But it's okay to hold, to say that white women you disagree with, to say that they have no right to disagree with you, and then generalize that into the entire white women population, and the 47% that didn't vote for Trump, they don't matter.
Well,
And
I would love to just go to a Black Lives Matter meeting, or just a place with a lot of black feminists. I would love to go to such a meeting or protest and just carry a sign that said "Black women ruined the movie-going experience."
This this is just me being petty and small, but
Oh,
this
fuck you guys. That's a good one.
this woman holding the sign up looks like
sorry, I was muted.
oh.
There we go.
This woman
Thanks.
holding the sign up looks like a background dancer for like Salt and Pepper. Like she just out of the time machine. And what's with the lollipop? I don't know.
okay, can I just point something out?
Yeah.
These hats don't look like pussies.
No, they're supposed to be like kitty hats with like ears, not actual vaginas.
Are you? Oh. Okay, that makes more. No, that
Yeah.
still doesn't look
Yeah,
like.
they're stupid. They're like the anime hats, with the cute little
Well, they're badly
anime
made.
cat ear girls.
They're badly made because feminists aren't even good at like doing woman shit.
I need
so-
my own
Well,
gender.
look, I'm going to be honest about this. I can see what happened here because I've been a crafter. Somebody came up with a shitty hat pattern. How can I get people to buy this? Oh, hey, the Women's March is coming up, and everybody's mad at Trump over the grab 'em by the pussy side. Or statement. I'll make it pink, and we'll make a pussy joke, and people will buy my hats and my hat patterns. And of course, it would work with regards to the fact that probably most women don't knit or crochet anymore, so they would have to buy the hats rather than make their own.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out, that those hats don't look like a damn thing. They look like the ass end of a Teletubby.
They look
Well,
bad.
all it is like a half of a pillow cover pattern open so that you can put it on your head.
Yeah, they're bad. This is absolutely
The-
true. But
And
why?
They're
I look at this
cute.
shit,
You know,
and
I
it's
mean,
like,
it's a cute hat, but it's not anything spectacular, and it's not anything particularly clever.
what is it with women? And like, I just, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but just wandering around complaining about needing more shit, and just complaining about people needing people to do shit for you, and
Well,
wearing stupid hats.
Well,
Okay, maybe I.
they just need a strong man like Trump to keep them in place.
The patriarchy
Yeah, those-
itself.
those strong, independent women who don't need no man except for Uncle Sam to be their sugar daddy because, they're women. But the thing is, remember a couple of shows ago when I was talking about that conversation in Reddit's the Red Pill subreddit about the idea that most women do not mature intellectually and emotionally and accountability wise past where boys hit are expected to hit maturity, the level of maturity that they're expected to hit at the age of 14. And of course, most of the women reading that were just horribly offended and took it that women to say that women and girls stop maturing at the age of 14. And they did not further examine it. It wasn't a statement that women can't mature beyond that level, but that women are not made to. They don't have to. And because they're not faced with the condition of it being expected of them and required of them, they don't do it. And this is just an example of that, of women having the privilege of not having to be mature adults.
But is that really a privilege?
It is to a degree. If you want to be lazy and you want to revel in it, you don't want to like I keep saying, I'm a lazy person. I actually resist that as much as I can because I know it's dysfunctional. If you don't resist that dysfunction, in a way, it is a privilege. It's a privilege just the same as being able to afford a servant to do work for you that other people have to do in their own home.
Yeah,
Now,
but
it's a
usually,
crippling privilege just
Aristocracy has
because
privileges, but
Yeah.
they have burdens, but they are massively
that
outweighed
are
by the privilege.
right. But the thing is,
yeah, but here,
the
let
fact
me.
that something is damaging doesn't stop it from being a privilege. It's you're still getting away with not doing something that is required of other people if you are in that situation. And it does handicap you, but it's
I'm going to
still
make the argument that it
it's
isn't.
still an escape.
I'm going to make the argument that it isn't. And the way I'm going to frame that is, imagine there was a particular way of training kids to be able to walk and run properly. And our society just decided not to do that for girls because girls can be carried by boys. And so they essentially create a whole bunch of crippled girls because, of course, girls can be carried by boys. But still the thing is, the remains that you're creating a whole bunch of crippled. These are crippled people. These are crippled girls. And the fact that they have the privilege of being taken care of, I don't think outweighs the initial crippling.
To a degree, no, but to a degree, yes. They're still spoiled brats who just don't recognize that they are spoiled brats.
Well,
And they're responsible. They have if they don't have the brains to look around and see what they are doing versus what the people around them are doing, what's expected of them versus what's expected of the people around them, to at least some degree, that is on them and it is their responsibility. Just like there was a conversation I had last night regarding whether or not leaders are more responsible than the people who follow them if those people respond to things the leaders have said by engaging in violence against other people. It's a choice. to behave that way. If you can look around and see that other people are doing something that is better than what you are doing, and you don't try to do it too, and then you demand things of them because you're not doing it, that's still a choice. And it may be mitigated by the handicap, but it's not entirely eliminated.
Well, no, I agree that ultimately it's their responsibility to end the situation. They have to claim their own agency and they have to claim their own responsibility. But on the other hand, they have an entire society indulging this crippling, this mental crippling that they're going through. And again, it's not necessarily anybody's responsibility but theirs to actually challenge it and get past it. But at the same time, it's like when I look at these people and I see the complete lack of an understanding of the consequences of their actions, the complete lack of any kind of idea, an inability to face the world without victimhood, with a full understanding of self-reliance. It's like I look at that and I think, what is the point of being alive? What is the point of your life, lady? I mean, it's a life that isn't lived. It's a life that might as well not even exist.
Oh my God, Allison is calling for genocide.
I'm not calling. I'm calling for a genocide of this particular way of expecting women to exist and allowing women to exist and not demanding that they get past it.
Now, who said their names were all Jenny?
What?
No one said their names were Jenny. No
Well, then
one.
it can't be Jenny's side.
Oh. All right, next picture. Witches against white supremacy. I just thought this was hilarious because it's like a witch. I guess that's what it's supposed to be. This is how sad it's gotten.
That's
it's like turning
hilarious.
into Occupy Wall Street in the matter of days compared to how long it took before. You're getting crazy. And I want to read some of the little notes on here that she writes. Viva la vulva, because I'm pretty sure that's what it says. Vulva. Yeah, it is. And then there's a cauldron of male tears. Well, that's nice. Phases of the moon at the bottom. LBGTQIA+. Hey, you left out the P. You gotta like get with the times, lady. BGSD, which I don't know what that stands for, and Uter us. Really?
Okay, this is obviously someone who thinks she's Wiccan.
Yeah.
And I mean, personally, I wonder if she will melt if you pour water on her.
Well, the thing is, what she's doing there actually goes against the purported beliefs of Wicca. The cauldron of male tears goes against there's a whole outlook within Wicca. And this is not a statement on whether Wicca is legitimate or not. I don't want to argue about that with anybody because it's a belief system, and it doesn't matter to me if it's legitimate or not. It matters to me if you're consistent in your articulation of it and your expectations based on it. But there's a whole section of thought within that belief system on masculinity being a sacred thing, on being able to relate to the masculine aspects of deity, and it's good, it's functional. You know, it's not something that you look at. Well, they want white knights. No, it's valuing fatherhood and valuing the things about men that make them different from women, just as much as they value the things about women that make them. She's like going against everything that by calling herself a witch she purports to believe, and it's actually hilarious to see somebody with that on their sign. It's like it'd almost be like somebody from like a Protestant church turning around and carrying a sign about hating I don't know hating charity, like all charity is bad, charity is evil. You know, we bathe in food bank tears. It just blows my mind that what kind of a coven is she part of? She's got to be. And the only thing I can think of is Dianic.
Apparently, she's into one that likes boiling semen. Since
Well, that's
there's a cauldron of male tears there, and I would
The-
only. I think that
I
would
looked
take
up
all
on-
the
It's the
flavor
only
out
the
of
only
it.
Wiccan tradition that I've come across that is that ignores the sacred male as opposed to celebrating the masculine and feminine aspects of deity through their belief system. The only one that is like that is Dianic, and Dianics are fascists.
Unless she just
I
read
looked
Harry
up-
Potter and got into it.
I looked up BGSD. I think she means bitches get shit done. But what's quite amusing is Urban Dictionary. It says it's big girls sit down. Which
That's perfect.
Oh,
Spirit.
that goes quite well with their cauldron of semen.
Somebody put in the chat spirit cooking.
Hey, Brian, just a heads up. I sent you some pictures of segregationist protests. Maybe we
Okay.
could look at them as well. At the end, I mean,
All right.
just for comparison's sake.
Okay. Let me
No,
go on
I
to
sent
the
it to you
next-
via the Twitter, the
by
Skypes.
the Skypes, right. Okay. Let me move on to the next picture. That's enough of that. Thank you, Uter Us. And with your with the sign you made that you clearly worked really hard on for a really long time, especially drawing those phases of the moon.
Do you want to be reduced down to your sexuality, or do you not want to be reduced down to your sexuality? Because if you don't want to be reduced down to your sexuality, you have to differentiate yourself to make yourself special through some other way, like maybe your actions and your ability to take responsibility.
Yeah, that's asking a lot, Allison. So here's another general picture of a protest, and there's a man up front with a beard, and he's got a pussy hat on. I swear to God, I was like, is that Gavin McGinnis? That was the only thing I could think, but I don't think it is.
Because he looks like he's like Oscar, like an anthropomorphic Oscar the Grouch, but with some sort of bizarre pink hat instead of green.
Yeah,
Nick
and
Offerman, the guy from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I think it is Nick Offerman. Okay, well there you go. That's that. I think that's right. I think that's who that is.
Well,
So
you
that's
know,
something that happened.
That
Well,
is
you see-
begging to be memed. That the expression, the angle, the space above the top, above the people's heads at the top,
I know.
the composition of that—it's begging to be memed.
I have infiltrated.
Something
I
needs
have
to be written at
infiltrated
the
the
top.
parade.
Yeah.
Look
They
at what they made
suspect
me
nothing.
wear.
I
Now
suspect nothing.
I want all the bacon. And I know when I say that, it sounds like what I'm saying is I want a lot of bacon, but I need you to know that I actually want all of the bacon that you have. Okay, moving on.
All
the
of
bacon.
it.
All right. This one is another funny one. Hey Donald, don't try to grab my pussy. It's made of steel.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
okay, I think someone overdid it with the kegels.
Mm,
The kegels.
no, I doubt it. That would actually be, that would actually be some sort of proactive action. There is a woman from Russia who has done so many kegels that she can lift weights with her vagina.
Well, that might be a fun experience. Who knows?
No,
then-
it's actually people have been like, oh my god, she could squeeze off someone's. No, that's not how it works.
She is actually going to give birth to a bullet.
Yeah, well, maybe she could do that, but seriously, it doesn't work like that because your mouth, no matter how many kegels you can do, you probably would only get like 1/4 the force of your mouth, and you don't have any teeth down there, so it's just going to be a really strong grip. But
Oh god.
but wouldn't it have been funny if
Yeah.
that sign had said, in communist Russia?
Pussy grabs you. In
Maybe it should.
pussy grabs you.
Oh, fuck,
I
but
think
as
that's
it
what she
is-
was saying. That's probably what she was saying. My
Okay,
pussy
but as it
grabs you.
is, it's fucking painful.
Yeah.
And what's with this smug shit-eating grin again?
Again, this is normal. This is just like, yeah, I came up with this by myself. It's awesome. I've been told.
I'm on the right side of history.
Yeah. I've been told by
God.
so many guys my pussy is like steel. Like so many guys have said this.
Yeah, oh
Alright,
my
moving
god, yeah, totally.
All of
No,
them.
my dick's made of tungsten. It's got a melting point like 400 degrees higher than steel.
Yeah, it's
Jet
it's
fuel
so, it's
cannot cannot melt my vagina.
it's so much made out of steel that when I go to the gynecologist, he welds it.
Okay, all right. I just
Nope.
gonna repeat what Hannah said for anybody who wasn't able to
Stainless
hear it. Well, no, you repeat it, Hannah.
Jet fuel can't melt my vagina.
Okay. Because sometimes when we get started and we start laughing and giggling at each other, nobody can understand what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I just want to make sure that one got on the record.
So it was an inside job, inside of her puss.
Yes, it was an inside job.
Okay, moving on. The struggle is real. This is just another protester. I just thought I'm just gonna. I don't think I need to say anything. This one speaks for itself in many ways.
The sound effect, the Batman sound effect for this image is Biff. Just saying.
You know what? If Trump promised to release a formula to give them formula to North American women that allowed them to lose enough weight to fit into a size 6, this woman would be sucking his dick.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee it.
Wow.
All these women in
I
this
mean,
entire parade, all you have to do is get them to abdicate all of their so-called morals. Is if Trump, if you're listening to this, and I know you're not, Mr. Trump, that's all you need to do to get American women on your side is to formulate to create some sort of formula that allows them to lose 10 pounds a month. And every single American woman will be lining up to fillet you. And they will not give a shit about any other any other so-called moral problems they have with you. And if you make it free, they'll love you even more.
Well, yeah, and am I the only one who thinks it looks like her entire stomach is a camel toe?
Okay, I guess I got to explain that
That is a
BIF
Bactrian
stands
toe.
for butt in front.
Oh, God.
No, this is not a Photoshop. This is real. Okay, the struggle is as real as this photo.
The struggle to get out of bed.
This is like a Bronto
real.
toe. This is not like
This-
a camel toe. This is
What a feminist looks like.
This is a Brachiosaurus toe. Okay, moving on. All right, another sign. Keep your ovaries out of my rosaries. Or no, I got it backwards. Keep
God.
your rosaries out of my ovaries. Sorry,
That was a bad
I only
image.
had one job.
That argument
That was an ugly image.
is over 40 years old and is one of the absolute stupidest arguments within the abortion controversy. The vast majority of people who argue on the pro-life side or on the restriction side for any reason are not Catholic and are not arguing on a basis of Catholicism. So it's essentially a straw man, and it is the most ineffective argument ever conceived.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like just yelling Jell-O as your argument. You might as well, because it's just as sensible and effective of an argument.
Jello or steel?
No, Jell-O, definitely Jell-O.
I want to go back to this one real quick because I just had a thought. Doesn't this? Do you remember,
Jell-O!
You ever seen the Tanuki? Those statues in Japan of like a raccoon dog, and he has like the giant ball sack that's hanging at the bottom. Okay, back to the ovaries and thing. All right. So this is a really old argument we've heard before. Maybe feminists would consider this to be a classic that they want to keep using. And there's another sign here that says, "No sign can contain my fury." There you go. Here's another one.
You know,
This
she
little one in the-
probably
There's a little
she
one
probably
here.
once moved the city bus.
There's a little sign.
I can't believe
Go ahead.
we're still protesting this shit. No,
Yeah,
I can't believe it either.
I can't believe we're still protesting this shit. I was just
Oh
thinking
my fucking god! That has to be a troll. You know, somebody who.
I can't.
No, that's actually one that's about that argument is also like 20 or 30 years old. Like, this should have happened overnight
Yeah.
because everything that we say we want regardless of whether we're talking about a human right or not, is correct, and you're all wrong, and you should just agree with it because women are saying it. Why are we still arguing? Women said a thing. You should just accept it. That's the argument.
How do we know that's what it says? It might say no sign can obtain an injury.
Though it can lay on the floor after we're done in a pile.
You can have someone's eye out with that.
Yes. All right. There's not much else to say about this, so I'll move on to the next one. This is probably the most egregious crime one could commit. Trump puts ketchup on his hot dog. I think that's a bit of a Chicago thing. So, well, maybe not specifically, but I know that around these parts, putting ketchup on a hot dog, that's a paddling. So, it's supposed to be. I mean, kraut.
You know,
is there a story behind them?
I don't know. It's just a lot of people put ketchup on their hot dogs, but
you know, I don't want to be dragged after a, you know, I don't want to be dragged behind a fucking pickup truck for saying this sort of thing. You know, please don't lynch me, but I love ketchup on
hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually,
I generally am not a fan of ketchup, so I guess I escape just by default.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had people get mad at me for putting ketchup on scrambled eggs.
Well, that seems pretty mild.
People get mad over the stupidest things, but I
is
guess
it's like socks and sandals.
Is this guy really? Is this serious? Is he just sort of making fun?
It looks like he's making fun of the protest.
I think he's making fun. I think it's on top of all. Go ahead, Mike.
About some tiny people who started a war about which end of the egg you break.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're being Lilliputians, people. Right there and here, right now.
No, I'm fairly certain this is a joke.
I don't get what's like. If they have a problem ideologically with Trump, how would they have ever been okay with any Republican candidate? Because the guy is a centrist.
Well, they're not actually. Most of these people are left wing and progressive, so they really don't.
But the thing that's my point. Like Trump is basically a centrist, and very very centrist. Like Democrat before he even ran. So how is it like it seems to me like there'd be no candidate that the Republican Party could run that these people wouldn't go apeshit over. So what is it that they want? A one-party state?
Yes. I think
yes.
They want their government in place. There was a person who I know on Facebook that's pretty hardcore libertarian, and she was making the comment that she was glad that people were protesting government because she felt that it needed to be. But I know where she was coming from was a different perspective, and I had to step in and say, no. I get where you're coming from, but the people that are protesting are not protesting the government. They're protesting the government as it is now, and what they want is to replace it with their government, which is, if you're someone who is anti-big government, is far worse potentially than what we're getting, which is somebody who's trying to make it smaller. So I don't know why she got that idea. She just thought, oh, they're protesting anarchy, that's cool. And I was like, no, it's not. This is not how it works. I mean, there's a lot of violence. People were getting beat up. I mean, there have been fights. People have been threatened. Destruction of property. It's been
Well, of course it's not how it works.
So,
because what the hell is what was accomplished by this?
nothing.
They made themselves look really stupid.
There were a lot of
Funny.
arrests. Therefore, there's going to be fewer voters next time.
Well, there was something else that got accomplished.
Hilarity?
And it wasn't just by this march, but by the overall reaction to Trump. They convinced the United States Border Patrol that anti-Trump protesters are a violence risk. And so they did not allow anyone into the country who said that they were coming here to participate in the Women's March. And I've got somebody on Twitter asking my opinion of that. I'm all for free speech. I'm even for crossing borders for the sake of free speech. But if your movement blows things up, breaks windows, sets cars on fire, and throws shit at the cops, you are going to have to expect that Border Patrol is going to look at you as a violence potential, and they don't have to let you into the country for that.
Now, how about all the violent ideation against a bio group, like eliminate men? Oh, wait. I guess it's because it's girls doing it. It doesn't matter. It's just cute.
They wouldn't let men in that were going to say that about women. And I think it's equal treatment if they don't let women in that are going to say that about men. But I will say this. It's not on Border Patrol to decide whether or not you're taken seriously when you say things like kill all men. There are too many people saying stuff like that. If you are going to try to cross the border during a time when there is violence by protesters on your side of the political fence, you're going to have to expect that when you say something that sounds like advocating violence, you're going to be taken seriously. And it's your job to convince other people, not other people's job to convince you or to just accept you and just differentiate between you and the other people in your movement that are being violent.
But Hannah, those are consequences. Little girls can't handle consequences.
No, not feminists, certainly. That's a part of what feminism is all about, is ensuring that women don't have to deal with consequences. And it's one thing to argue that an obvious joke should be recognized as an obvious joke. It's another thing entirely to argue that people should be allowed to identify with a group that is violent and mirror their language and then say, but you shouldn't expect me to be violent too.
Yeah. Okay, so
All right,
this
next.
one.
Okay, this one. This woman is holding a sign and it says "extra female nasty." I think that's how that should read.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, I mean, I'm just reading it as it says. Extra female nasty or extra female symbol nasty. Well, it's a reference to when Donald Trump called Hillary Clinton a nasty woman, because she is. And all women, because he called her that, all women everywhere are now nasty women, because that's a misogynist thing to say, even if the person you're saying it to deserves it. So this woman is basically essentially, well, she's using that for, I guess, I don't know. I don't get women.
Individuals when we want to be.
Yeah.
But when you do something to one woman that we don't, do something we don't like to one woman, you're talking about all women, even if you didn't mean it that way. Hashtag feminist logic.
When a feminist man punches Sheila or a woman in the face, that means all feminist men want to punch all women in the face.
If you were gonna use logic like across the board in a logical fashion, yeah.
Well, I actually would. I think that there is a subconscious urge among feminist men.
Well, to get
all the violence that they think that you know. I'm always a little suspicious of a guy who's like, is told something like, yeah, all men want to rape women and beat them, and he's like, yeah, that totally matches with my experience of myself. It's a little scary there.
Oh yeah, no, that's like Sargon's law, or whatever, that which social justice warriors assume about other people is usually true of themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about this except I don't know, extra female nasty. Maybe she should have planned her sign out a little bit better.
Or maybe it's just her subconscious trying to tell us that she has a yeast infection.
Well, maybe she just misspelled the last word on her sign, and she thinks that she's tasty.
Extra tasty. That would be better. There's another sign in there too. Dump Trump. We stand for women's rights and education. Okay.
That one's awesome.
And dump Devos.
He never actually said women shouldn't be educated. In fact, he employs quite a lot of educated women who he treats equally to the men he employs. He holds them to the same standards. Mm-hmm. But, Reality is
Whatever
not all that important
narrative.
when you're engaging in a screaming temper tantrum for
You
all
gotta,
to see.
gotta be the victim in every case.
And we want to keep the rights that we already have, and society already is very much interested in giving to you and making sure you have. But let's protest to have rights that we already have and are under no threat whatsoever.
Evidently, she wasn't the only one with Nasty Woman on her shit. Ashley Judd did what's been called an epic Nasty Woman speech. She did a speech where she hit all the talking points of the feminist thing. I mean, Bob's and she. There was a theme of "I am a nasty woman" and such, so that sign might have been drawn after that particular event.
Okay.
There are quite a few.
The meme now, it's one of their favorite memes.
Yeah, there's quite a few nasty has-been women actors and actresses that are.
Can I throw like a little bit of a rock into this Levin? I wanted to try to get Anna Cherry on here so we would at least get some criticisms of Trump that actually hold water, or we can at least think about, or have some sort of logical, something to them. Because this is the thing that, sure, fine. If he does something, protest it. If he
All right, well,
fucks
I
up,
have one. I have a criticism of Trump that holds water, although it's not one that any feminist would make, and it's from during the campaign. During the campaign, there was a journalist who kind of created a Kafka trap for him. They asked a loaded question. I can't remember which journalist it was. It was a guy asked a loaded question that he set up with the scenario if abortion were outlawed. So having an abortion was an illegal act. Should women go to jail with it for it, or should women be punished for it? And Trump said, under that circumstance, with that circumstance in mind, he said, yes, there should be some punishment. And then, of course, there was this big hullabaloo claiming that Trump wanted to punish women for having abortions. Not for breaking the law, but for having abortions. And he backed down. He came out and actually said, no, women shouldn't be punished for having abortions. Well, if there is a law that women are exempt to, that's not equality. So that is an area where I think he was wrong. I think he engaged in a significant degree of gynocentrism there. I can't say this thing because women will get mad at me. I think it was a big mistake, and he shouldn't back down on stuff like that. The idea that if we are going to have a law, whether that law is approved or disapproved by the people, if we're going to have a law that says it is illegal to do a thing, and anybody who does that thing should be subject to that law. Being female is not a mitigating circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I was really pissed about that.
But
Well, yeah,
as we know from feminist rhetoric, being a woman is a handicap.
Oh,
They play it as one. They certainly do.
I mean, as a very famous Kazakhstanian once said, women have a brain the size of a squirrel's.
Wait, what?
how did we get here?
Yeah. His name is Borat.
Oh.
Yep, that's the ultimate male feminist.
Very, very trustworthy man.
But women are not the weaker sex. They're just in every way disadvantaged, but they're not weaker because patriarchy, which men have used to subjugate women throughout all of human history. But that doesn't make women weaker. That doesn't make women weaker. That just makes them more something, more nicer. Like they just let men do it.
I got another one. There was I don't know if the people who were not from the United States remember, there was a story, it's been years, a woman that was jogging in Central Park reported to the police that she was beaten and gang raped by 5 guys. And they arrested 5 guys. I don't remember if she named them or if they did an investigation and those were the 5 guys. They arrested 5 guys. There was an investigation. There was a whole hullabaloo over it. And it turned out that they did not commit the crime. And that's one where Trump white knighted and pursued the idea that those guys were guilty even after it was pretty clearly proved that they were not. And it was, once again, posturing for women. So I guess my big criticism is that while, you know, the freedom orientation is pretty high there, while he is beneficial with respect to the United States in a lot of ways, we are still going to have to be vigilant for gynocentrism in Donald Trump.
Obviously.
Because I think he forgot about due process because a woman got hurt. And, you know, I'm not going to say that woman didn't experience what she said she experienced. She may be one of the 1 in 4 women that the FBI discovered gets the wrong guy when she says who did it.
All right. Well, guys, it's getting very late here. It's almost 4 a.m. here, so I'm really gonna have to head off now.
Oh, it's all right, Sandre. Thanks for coming. That was the last picture anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, no, I mean it's been fun. It really has. Really felt like I needed to get this out of my system because it never ceases to amaze me just how 2016 and this year so far, 2017, how little people who really should behave like adults actually behave like adults. You know, they essentially have this mindset of, well, I didn't get what I wanted, so yeah, fuck the system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Thanks for coming on.
this is true. And thanks for coming on. I think Brian is winding down, so...
Oh, I want to show you guys a little something else.
Oh, fuck. This is incomprehensible.
Okay, is this the last one?
No, you don't have to stay for this. I mean, I figure if you're gonna, you know, you could. There's just a couple more that I thought were kind of funny. This is the new flag that's been going around at some of the protests. This is actually
this is incomprehensible.
This is the
I know what's coming.
It's the LGBT communist flag. Yeah. So that's a thing.
This is what happens when somebody gets a really bad case of fool poisoning and experiences a bout of mental diarrhea and vomiting.
Ugh. Well, did they not know, like, there was not an incredibly friendly relationship between communism and alternative sexualities? Did they not know that?
Well,
in fact,
this time they'll get it right, Allison. This time.
This time, huh? Okay, let me put it this way. Every group of people that has had a legitimate civil rights issue has had to start the agitation and the advocation of their own rights with some form of a consumer boycott or appealing to a consumer revolt. Throughout history, that's what I've seen time and time again. Mm-hmm. In other words, capitalism, for all of its faults, allows for a flexibility in our morality because it gives the marginalized, since they usually have to actually earn money to maintain their own living, it gives them some way of having a voice. If we had been communist, I don't think segregation would have ended. I don't think we would have gotten gay rights. And whatever your opinion is on women's right to vote, probably not that either. Mm-hmm. Because none of these things would have been able to develop the kind of consumer power required to change the moral landscape. And this is really what's wrong with communism. Regardless of what we believe morally in the future, it's probably going to be different than what we believe now. We're probably going to identify whole new forms of things that we don't appreciate. But we won't have any way of changing it if morality is we can't develop this consumer power to oppose these new regimes or whatever the hell happens. You know, and that's my point. Like, morality is a shifting thing. We never get it completely right. We always have a new generation that figures something else, or some new shit happens, and we need that ability to come together financially or in some other way. Maybe there's going to be, like, I don't know, Bitcoin activism in the future, whatever. But we need that potential exit strategy so that we're not continuously under the heel of yesterday's moral landscape. And I'm going to step off the soapbox
Okay.
because I'm going to do that.
Okay, next, I'm going to show the next image. Come on, show me the... Come on now. Okay, I think I had to do this. Boop. All right, this one, I thought this one was funny. We get a laugh out of it. So, I'll scroll. This is a tweet with a response. This is what a plane full of women who are ready to resist the Trump agenda looks like. And there's a photo of a bunch of women, and they're all like cheering, and they're on their plane, and they got their pussy hats on. They're just so glad to be there. And it's full of women going to this march, right? And then there's a response up here by Gender Professics. Middle-aged white women that are so privileged that they can buy a two-way plane ticket to D.C., skip it on work, and still feel oppressed. I thought you guys get a laugh about that. No,
Now
nobody?
that is some genuine fucking privilege right there. Oh well, anyway, I'm heading off now, and to the audience, I think maybe you will find a link to my channel in the description.
I'll put one down there.
Yeah, or you'll add one if it's not there. Well, yeah, no, it's been fun, and to the audience, please go to my channel only if you can handle, things that would bother most people. Basically, I only want people who are thick-skinned.
Yeah. Grow a pair and go to Sandre Guy's channel.
Yeah, because
you're on Honey Badger Radio, you already
then
have
you
a
will
pair.
survive my content, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Too many thin-skinned bitches these days. All right, anyway, fuck off, guys.
All right. Bye, Sandre. Have fun in your rape capital, Sweden.
Definitely grow a pair. Pears are delicious.
Yes, I like
Okay.
pears.
Are we almost done here,
No,
Brian?
this is it. The last thing I wanted to settle on was this funny image of what appears to be a Trump chan or a Trump waifu or something. I just thought it was funny.
I want you to
What?
throw up those those segregationist posters
Okay.
or pictures that I sent
Grab
you.
the links here.
Yeah, because I want you guys to see this. Now, when I said that the freedom fighters were only able to march 6 people, 12 people at the most, look at what the segregationists managed. Do just waiting.
Oh no,
It
you
should
better
be in your Twitter
keep talking
demos.
because I have to reopen Skype. So
Oh,
you have to
oh
wait.
my God.
Well, no, I closed it because it was making
Yeah, I have to keep-
noise like that one as I was opening Skype up. So I had to close it. So
I think that
did
it
that.
automatically downloaded them. Sorry, guys. This is
No, it's all right.
I sent this through completely without any preamble, so
I was not warned. Is basically what's going on here.
he was not warned.
No.
He's not warned about what's going on.
So it'll just take me a moment. I'll share them while you're talking.
Indeed.
It's
So
fine.
let's-
It'll work.
Yeah, but I don't really have much more to say. But I just wanted to bring this up and point it out because in one of my previous solo videos, I've made the comparison between what's happening with the protesters, this sort of axis of feminism, communism, social justice, and those protesters and segregationists and other Puritans throughout history. And it's a really interesting parallel. And I hope that Brian is able to bring it up shortly.
I will.
Because it would
shortly.
be great to see the visual comparison between what's going on and the sheer smugness on the face of the segregationist protesters is something to
that's
behold.
my dog. I'm sorry. This
All right.
got really unprofessional now. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I know it, and it's all my fault. There we go.
Okay. So now it's being shared.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So it hasn't shown up on the video, but
It will.
I just wanted to point out once again. The freedom fighters, people who oppose segregation, 6 people, sometimes 12. The segregationists, on the other hand, could fill whole city blocks with their protests. Huge marches. It's just enormous presence that they had. And you know why they had it? Because they could go out and they would not face any kind of a proforum, any kind of threat to their jobs. And they usually had the leisure time to do it. And I just want you to notice the faces on these segregationists. Like if you're looking at
Let me go back to
the
first
one woman. Yeah, well, you go back to the first one. You can go to the second one. Just you have to move it over a bit because Pepe is inconveniently positioned.
Oh, I will move Pepe then.
Because just the smugness. You remember Smugly Puff? Well, there you go. Right in the left-hand corner, you see a man who could give Smugly Puff a run for his or her money. And then in the video, in the image of the woman screaming at the police, there's a woman right beside her who's just having the time of her fucking life.
Right there.
Look at that grin.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it over and over again with the social justice warriors. And you know the connection between these two groups of people? It's purity. They're both this age's Puritans.
Yep.
They're both out on a crusade to rid the world of any kind of miscegenation and sin. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. I guess we'll be taking off. I did have like tweets and stuff, but I think we went long enough. The chat was good, and we had.
I think
of-
everyone's satisfied.
We're satisfied. Yes, this went a bit long, so we should probably get out of here. I want to thank Sandre Guy for taking the time to come out, especially on such short notice. And I want to thank Mike for showing up randomly, even though I didn't put his character in. And, well, of course, Allison and Hannah. And I want to thank myself. So, because, you know, I need to get that somewhere. Thanks for joining us on the Inauguration Meltdown stream. Just be on the lookout. It hasn't stopped, and shit's going to get crazier. And we'll hopefully be around to talk about it. Point, laugh, cry, whatever. Hold hands. Eat peanut butter. Slow.